All right. So in this video, what I thought I would do is just go over how grades are figured. There was some confusion about how grades are completed and what different things mean. And so I thought I would just take a minute to show you how to figure your own grade and what your grade means and why that homework assignment didn't bring your grade up and so forth. All right. Well, first of all, before I go on to go to specifics, grades are fractions. All right. A fraction is part of a whole. A whole, if you make the entire grade, you get a 100%. Anything less than that is a fraction of that. You could put that over 100, which is what a lot of you do inherently when you receive a grade. If you get a 4 out of 5 on an assignment, you say to yourself, I made an 80. All right. So we automatically understand that fraction. So everything that we're going to be talking about is fractions because the whole, a 1 out of 1, is a 100. And most people do not carry a 100 for the entirety of their time here. So they need to be able to figure out that fraction. All right. So what is this? Well, we have 9 weeks grades in here. We just completed a first 9 weeks, so you have a grade for that. If you're in my class, that grade has already been posted. Your other teachers may not have posted their grades already, but you do have a first 9 weeks grade. Your second 9 weeks grade begins yesterday on October 19th. And that grade will be averaged together with your first 9 weeks grade to make your semester grade. And so let me give you an example here. Let's say that you made a 90 for the first 9 weeks. Great. That's a 90. You made an A. The second 9 weeks, well, let's say that you forgot to turn an assignment in on the very first day and your teacher's already graded it. And now you have a 0 out of 5 in the class, which is a 0%. And you probably are like, what the crap? My grade just dropped 45 points. Why do I have an F45 in your class now? Well, you see, the average of these two scores, 90 plus 0 divided by 2, is a 45. That's because you currently have a 0 for the second 9 weeks because of that assignment that you didn't turn in. Had you turned that assignment in and made a 100 on it, for instance, then you would have saw some different math occur over here on the right. You would have saw this be 190, and then your grade would have been a 95% for the semester. Notice my first 9 weeks grade has remained unchanged. However, I have a growing or decreasing second 9 weeks grade, which is causing me to now have a semester grade, which is again completely different from my first 9 weeks grade. Now, what about when you're on Infinite Campus and you see this thing called midterm, and you're like, well, why is my midterm still bad even though my other grades are changing? Well, a midterm is basically a snapshot of your grade. It's an antiquated thing that we do still, but it's basically the same as you pulling up the Infinite Campus app on your phone and looking at your grade right then. You are seeing a right then snapshot of your grade. The midterm, at a particular time in the 9 weeks, we take a snapshot of your grade and send it to you. It's not really necessary anymore because everybody has an app that tells them what their grade is anytime they want to see it, but it's something that we still do. And so your midterm is not a part of your permanent grade as far as colleges aren't going to see it. It's not on your transcript. It's just recorded in an Infinite Campus because we choose to record it. The grades that are recorded permanently that colleges will see or whoever will see is the semester grade. And so your semester grade, again, is a product of your first 9 weeks and your second 9 weeks. Well, what about weighted categories? Some teachers do weighted categories. Well, what about for instance, in my class, tests and other assessments are worth 70% of your grade. And other work, quizzes, and homework and that sort of thing are worth 30% of your grade. And so let's say that you turn all of your homework in and you currently have 100 out of 100 homework points in my class, that 100 is going to be multiplied by this 30% right here, because that's only worth 30% of your grade. And so that's giving you 30 points. The other 70 points I have to get with my tests. Well, let's say that on my first test, I make a whopping 55 out of 100. Actually, I never have anything out of 100, so let's do a different one. Let's do an 11 out of 20, which is also a 55%. I made a 55 on that, and that is 70% of my grade. So if I bring up my trusty calculator here, I see that that is giving me 38.5 points. And I add those two together, and I have a 68.5 right now. Now, if I make a 100 on the next test, then all of a sudden, and it's out of 20 also, then I'm going to have 31 points out of 40. And that's going to multiply that 77.5 times 0.7, because again, tests are 70% of my grade. I'm going to get 54.25, which, brought my grade up significantly. Now, let's say that I turn and I have an 84 and I really want an A, and there was a big project that was 100 points for this other score over here. And notice my percentage hasn't changed. I still have a 100. And you think, I made a 100 on that project. Why didn't it bring my grade up? Because this isn't changing. It's not. The only thing that's going to bring your grade up is by making better test grades. That's it. And then you think, well, what's the point of the other one? Well, okay, that's fine. The alternative is to have tests be worth 100% of your grade or significantly less portion of your grade. But tests are currently worth 70% of your grade in my class. I don't know what they're worth in other people's classes, but it's the same sort of problem. If you have multiple categories, more than two, it's the same kind of thing. They'll all add up to be 100. If they don't, that's another issue, but they should add up to be 100. And you just do this math for it. And so when you look at this, you think the only way I can improve my grade then is by making tests. Alternatively, if you choose to turn nothing in, but you do well on tests, let's say that you always study and you always make hundreds, but you're a lazy bum and you choose to turn nothing in, then I'm getting 100 out of on my test score. That's 70 points, but I turn nothing in. The highest I can hope to have is a 70, which is a really low C. Used to be a really low D. All right, so do you understand how that works? What about late work? Well, in my class, late work is penalized 25%, and that means with the from the day it's assigned, if you don't turn it in on that day, it is late. And let's say that we have a 50-point assignment. You make a 50 out of 50, but you turned it in later than it was due. You turned it in the next day. Well, rather than give you that 50, I'm going to pull up my trusty calculator again, and I'm going to multiply it by 0.75 because I penalized you 25%, and I'm only going to give you a 37.5, and it's going to be marked in Infinite Campus as late. That is a generosity. I could just give you a 0, but because I am benevolent, I've chosen to only penalize you 25% for your late work. If you're absent, you get 3 days to turn that work in. If you're absent multiple days, just talk to me and we'll make it work somehow. And so hopefully this answers your questions about how grades work. If you have further questions about your grade or about grades in general, please send me an email or come and see me.